the audience, everybody here is regulars, so I am going to abstain from doing the normal reading of the chairman's message at the beginning that goes over the rules, with the exception of reminding everybody that today's meeting is being both videoed and audio recorded. So with that, please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge. And now the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. We have a very light attendance in our audience tonight. Is some weather going on today, so I think it scared everybody away here. Our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to approve routine items that usually require very little debate or discussion. So I will open up the consent agenda to the board. Is there any comments on the consent agenda? None? Mr. Wigglesworth, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, motion, Mr. Wigglesworth. Is there a second? Second. Second from Mr. Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 3-0. Okay, we're going to move on to our action items. The first thing on our action items is 924 Red Rose Court, Ophthalmology Surgical Center. It's a waiver request from Land Development, and Mrs. Schweitzer, seeing nobody else here to talk about that, I will turn it over to you for briefly before we move on to this routine.
So 924 Red Rose Court is a currently occupied business at that address. They have sold the property and the new owners desire to open up an ophthalmology center. They were concerned about the makeup and the materials in the building. What they'd like to do is raise the building and reconstruct it with the same footprint. And they are asking for a waiver of land development so that they can proceed faster and get into the building.
Basically, it's no new development.
No, absolutely none.
Just like we did on a much bigger scale with Nook Sports.
Correct.
So this is a much smaller version of that. Is there any discussion of the board at this point? Seeing none, anybody from the audience? Seeing none, then I will entertain a motion for 924 Red Rose Court Ophthalmology Surgical Center. A motion is to grant 924 Red Rose Court a waiver of land development requirements to replace the existing building with a new structure on the same building footprint. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Wigglesworth. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 3-0. Next up, we have authorization for Bowman Company to move forward with a budgeted traffic signal analysis. Mrs. Schweitzer.
So this review is a budgeted item in our 2024 budget. It's a cost of $29,775. It will review all our 40 traffic signals for compliance to permit, as well as any deficiencies that may occur. This will line us up for future grant programs because we have now reviewed our entire collection of signals and we know what the status of them is.
Okay, any discussion of the board besides that? I will have to abstain from this vote. Okay, anybody from the audience? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to authorize Bowman Company to move forward with a traffic signal compliance review at a lump sum cost of $29,775. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Johnson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Wigglesworth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, 2 with 1 abstention. Next up, we have the special event approval, Hempfield Rec Annual Triathlon for Life. I guess, Ms. Schweitzer, it looks like you're it again.
I'm it again. This is an annual event that we have done for quite a number of years. They use the roadways within the township and there has never been any problems with it. And we're seeking your approval to move forward and allow them to use the roadways on the June 26th, I believe it is.
This has been an event that's, we talked about many years and have
Yes.
occurred. It's been very successful without any incident. And the REC's been a great partner in this process. So, any discussion of the board? None?
No.
Anybody from the audience? Okay, seeing none. So the motion is to approve the 2024 Triathlon for Life to be held on multiple roadways through East Hempfield Township on Sunday morning, June 16th, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Johnson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it, 3-0. Next up, we have the Green Light Go submission for the intersection of Harrisburg at Hemlock and Good Drive with estimated cost of improvements of $308,025. There's a minimum 20% match of $61,605, and the grant request is for $246,420. Mrs. Switzer.
We were pushing up a grant submittal deadline of the end of last month, and I did poll the board to inquire if they would be okay with submitting the application. This is just to ratify that decision.
Right. And for the people that are actually online right now and the few that are in the audience right now, Hemlock is a signal that's broken at this point, and anybody's driven down the road over the last year realizes that there's some big problems with that. And that's the signal that supports LGH on Harrisburg Pike. So right now it's going back to what's called the default mode because the loops aren't working. And so at 5 o'clock in the morning, when I'm taking my son to swim practice at the YMCA on Wednesdays and Fridays, I will sit at the light for a good minute because it's cycling through all of the different phases, including the side streets, even though there's no other cars on the road. So it's just not operating the way it needs to be. And it's tied to the overall Harrisburg Pike corridor that goes all the way to the city of Lancaster. It's a time corridor, and quite frankly, Hemlock and Good Drive are at the very end of that time corridor, and they really don't work well with the other signals. As I understand, that's been some of the issues we've been dealing with PennDOT, which is why this has been an ongoing issue instead of a quick fix.
Correct.
Is that a good synopsis right there?
Yep.
Okay. So this is definitely a problem intersection. It's one of two problem intersections. The other one would be Kaufman right now. I mean, we have signals that have problems right now.
Yeah, Kaufman is pending because of the temporary work that was done, or
Right.
the work that was done on.
All right, so
Kirk
those
Street.
loops have been cut by the contractor by
Yes.
accident, and so we're dealing with the same situation for the main light going into our school district's campus. So we can at least address this issue if we can get the grant. So that's the purpose behind that. So any discussion of the board?
No.
None? Anybody from the audience? Yes. Hemlock it's when you look at the health campus LGH, it's a light on Harrisburg Pike for that campus and the retirement community there. It's actually called Hemlock, but everybody refers to it as LGH signal. So seeing none from the audience, let's see here. I'll entertain a motion to ratify the decision to submit a Green Light Go grant for the intersection of Harrisburg Pike at Hemlock and at Good Drive.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it, 3-0. Next up, we have the Recreation Authority has made a rezoning request. The authority is requesting the board accept their request to rezone approximately 6.7 acres of land at the corner of Stony Battery Road and Church Street from the Recreation Open Space to Community Business Center. And just to clarify that, this is going to be for a motion to authorize staff to move forward to submit the request to the County and Township Planning Commission and for eventual advertisement for board consideration, not eventual, right?
Correct.
We need to advertise it.
Right, this is.
So
the very
it'll be
start.
an advertisement for board consideration. So this is a routine, very beginning stages of zoning, just for Mr. Johnson's benefit. Typically, this is not the point where we comment on these things. We have to let it go through the process of going before the two planning commissions, and then it comes back to the full board, and that's when we formally hold a hearing and we talk about it at that point. This is purely just to authorize the first step to move forward with it and do the advertisement. Is there any questions of the board?
No.
Anybody from the audience? Okay, seeing none, so I'll entertain a motion to authorize staff to move forward to submit the request to the County and Township Planning Commission and to make advertisement for a board consideration of this zoning request.
So moved.
Okay, a motion from Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 3-0. So next up, we have record destruction resolution 24-07 for police and personnel records. Mrs. Switzer.
This is a routine resolution that we do periodically throughout the year. It documents the records that we are disposing of. These happen to be police and personnel records that are being disposed of.
Okay, any discussion?
None. No.
Okay, anybody from the audience? Okay, this is a routine motion, and I'm actually missing my second page versions. I'm good, I got it. So I entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2024-07, authorizing destruction of police and personnel records as outlined in the resolution. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, a motion from Mr. Johnson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 3-0. Okay, last up of our action items is the board goals. So hopefully everybody's got a chance to review the goals. And Mrs. Switzer, I assume you got basically all the input you'd received at this point is reflected in the goals now.
Correct.
I saw you made the tweaks with what
Yes.
I'd comment on. Is there any comments on the board goals at this point?
No.
I gotta admit that
No.
this is something that kind of makes our township a little unique. There's not too many other townships in the county that actually develop goals each year to give staff guidance on what the wishes are of the Board of Supervisors. So it's a pretty powerful tool that we use as a planning document. So with that, is there any questions from the audience? Okay. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the 2024 board goals as discussed and presented tonight.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Wigglesworth and second from Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 3-0. So looking at our agenda, it's a little light now after this. We have no old business. Any new business that needs to be brought by board members or staff? Okay. Now we will open up to public comment. Again, the public comment rules apply. Everybody that's online here and in the audience has done this many times before. So is there any public comment on a non-agenda item? Mr. Root?
Doug Rupp, 121 Meadow Creek Drive. Shouldn't you tell us who's absent?
Who's absent?
Bennett, is that name? Who else is absent?
Mr. Brubaker and Mr. Bennett are the two board members that are not here tonight.
He's a new guy.
He's the new guy, yes.
He might be last time. He's out
Yeah,
here.
he was the last time he was online virtual.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what he looks like. Oh, goodness. How's this green light go thing?
It's a grant. So it's it's a federally funded grant from FHWA. It's just the Green Light Go is the name it gives. It's basically a grant that gets used primarily for traffic signals, for making improvements to traffic signals. What different? I'm sorry.
Like you said, it's gonna eliminate backup traffic. How does it work?
It's basically replacing the equipment at those intersections. We have issue with our hardware. Yeah, so it's basically making that's why it's a $300,000 project. It's going to be replacing signal poles, equipment, boxes, which is not working. Exactly. If you look at that signal for LGH in particular, it's a very old signal. So you think about how long your cell phones now last a couple of years, where the signal gets over 20 years old, you're going to have problems.
I might as well bring this up. I think I mentioned this to Cindy. I would like to have a description of a lot of these things, like you'll read it. What's wrong with having like a paragraph explaining some of this stuff? I mean, some of them is just like Greek, look, like this light.
We can take that under advisement of staff.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rupp. Any other comments? Anything from the Rec Authority?
Evening and thank you again. David Lounsbury. My business, TLC Environmental, is located at 2733 Columbia Avenue, right across the street from Super Shoes. On behalf of the authority, I want to thank you again for granting our request to consider having the corner property of Stony Battery Road and Church Street rezoned. As you know, when the authority was formed, the founding documents indicated the goal was to reduce the financial and operating hardship to the township at the golf course. And I think we've made some very significant progress since the authority has been formed. The next step, since we can't really predict an increase in revenue from golf only, it's totally dependent upon the weather. We need to look to see how we can generate additional sources of revenue. Our advisors have told us if that property is rezoned to the most general classification, it allows for maximum flexibility for a developer to come in and offer a variety of uses. So we thank you again. If you have any questions, please let me know.
We appreciate everything you guys are doing too. There was a period of time in the 2000s where we were very concerned about our golf course and the $400,000 a year that it was losing money. And I greatly appreciate how you guys turned that ship around. You guys have done awesome.
Thank you. Yes, the way the agreement would work, the township would continue to own the ground. And we would have a series of leases or whatever for however the property was developed. We were in the very preliminary stages. Nothing is, in stone yet at all. We'll look at any options that come up and try to make the best decision for the citizens of East Hempfield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anybody from Zoom? Okay, seeing none. We're flying along. Ms. Schweitzer, you might have the longest speaking time now with the manager's report.
And I do love an audience, So there's not a whole lot going on with our projects because we're just coming out of the winter months and getting into the spring activities. Centerville Road is moving along as predicted and anticipated. We do have a replacement drainage pipe that needs to occur at the Estelle Drive area. That's going to be on us. So Perry is working on the cost estimate for that project. Royerstown Road is done until June 1st. Due to stream restrictions, Farmingdale Road is essentially done. We do need to make decisions on the intersection of Farmingdale and Orval in order to close out that grant.
Do we have all the temporary signs, or not temporary signs, but all the signs?
All the
up at this
signage
point?
is up. The only thing that is remaining is the moving the stop bar and stop traffic light or stop sign, sorry, at Farmingdale. And another review by Chief Brubaker, which I was basically going to address at the next meeting with the Traffic Commission and everybody, is that she has taken another look at that along with Sergeant Lombardo and feels that it would be safe to move that stop bar and stop sign back as explained by Chris Bauer, our traffic engineer. So we'll get the authorization to do that and get that moved back.
Have we seen a decrease in illegal U-turns using people's driveways at this point?
I don't believe that we've had any further complaints or reach out. Chief Brubaker, have you heard of anybody have reached out to you?
I haven't had any complaints lately. I'll have for the Traffic Commission meeting in 2 weeks an update on the last 4 weeks of enforcement that we've had down there.
The truck study is scheduled for the beginning of March here, so hopefully we'll have results before the Traffic Commission meeting. So we know exactly what kind of traffic is on that roadway. And then we can make some decisions on what the board desires to do moving forward. The Panettone project at South Chickies and Spooky Nook Road, the warehouse, we're still working on those traffic agreements and indemnification agreements. They are actually in signed form and will be at your next meeting. The Green Light Go grant we talked about, rezoning request we talked about, traffic signal, Try for Life. We do have not a whole lot going on with the stormwater projects, with the exception of Dorsia Road. I do have that meeting scheduled with staff, the residents, and our engineer on the 15th of March, so that we can discuss the option that the board selected at the last meeting. I did attend a few meetings. We did have a Lancaster Intermunicipal Committee meeting on the 21st. That's the meeting of the metro area of the municipalities. I did take away from that Lancaster City has a large initiative for tracing lead pipes in water, lead water pipes. And we did reach out to West Hempfield, or Hempfield Water as well. So we were going to have an article in our newsletter regarding that to get residents to at least reach out to the service provider to tell them what kind of connections they have.
Do we really have that many lead pipes in the, or is it just an unknown at this point?
I talked to Steve Goen and he feels that there's not, but everyone has to be reached out to.
I didn't think our system was that old, like the cities that where we would have
Right.
lead pipes as an issue.
That's what he's hoping for too, but according to the city people, you have to reach out to everybody.
Okay.
Public safety did have a meeting. I indicated that I did provide a link and to their agenda, but I didn't have that until today. So that is now linked to your public drive. That group did talk or did bring up to speed the new supervisor, Mr. Brubaker, regarding fire operations and also police operations. Under fire, we did talk about the apparatus delivery of the Royerstown ladder truck. And that is anticipated for 2025, but it could even go and extend to 2026. The police, we talked about their new drone program. They didn't purchase a drone, they are using the safety. Yeah. The one on Champ Boulevard. The safety centers drones.
Okay, yeah.
As opposed to having one of our own to see how that works and see how that program works. And then Chief will make an evaluation and talk to the public safety group where that might go. But she feels that very little cost involved with just dipping their toes in the water with this program. She was also awarded a PCCD hiring grant, and I don't know what PCCD stands for. Maybe Chief Brubaker can tell us. It is a $5,000 grant for hiring of 3 officers to help defray some of the added costs of those new officers. There was also discussion about staffing of the 35th officer. The public safety has charged Chief Brubaker to come back with a timeline that she can work with the hopes of getting everybody on board by the January start of next year. Because there are some retirements coming up and she will need to backfill some positions. We also talked about emergency management services and Penn State. Penn State has put us on notice that our contract that we have with them, which expires in June of 2026, they will probably be looking for fees for that service. And that's just something that we need to start planning for. Park and Rec also met. We met with the Hempfield Recreation Commission, and we began the discussion of the expiring lease for the property at the Hempfield Rec, which expires in June of 2025. So those are only really initial discussions, but hopefully we can just create a new lease for another 25 years. Also attended the Senator Almond's legislative breakfast on the 29th. That was also attended by Mr. Bennett, Brubaker, and Mr. Johnson. So we had good representation at that meeting. It was a very informative discussion and a lot of legislative initiatives as well as the grant funding resources, which was beneficial to us. That concludes the report unless there's questions.
Any questions of the board? I did see you had solar farms down there.
Yes, I thought that that was something we should at least look at. We do have provisions for solar farms, but nothing, nothing too extravagant. It's just a basic mentioning. We do have one solar farm in the township thus far on Root Road, but, north side of 283 is prime area for solar farms, and so we probably should look at that and see if we need to beef up our criteria.
Yeah, not necessarily putting it on our prime farmland, but,
Exactly.
but the bigger thing is on the decommissioning of solar farm sites and making sure the township doesn't get stuck with it in 25, 30 years.
Right.
So we gotta make sure there's securities in place that would cover decommissioning costs.
And I think our criteria does include that now, but we may have to just beef the criteria up.
Might be a good thing to just dust off with now it's my turn to get foggy brain, with our planning group.
Mhm.
Maybe looking at that ordinance and Dustin, there's a number of municipalities now that are starting to adopt ordinances for solar
Right, right.
to regulate it.
So I have Mr. Sturgis looking at that, and he'll probably bring something back to the group.
If you guys are okay with that. For working group. Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Switzer. And it looks like we have come to the end of the meeting. Is there anything else for the good of the cause? Okay, seeing none, it is 7:26 by the clock on the wall, and we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Hey Doug, so. Both on vacation right now.
Vacation. How you got us off away? Well, when are they gonna put the equipment in, the playground in Knoll Gorwood? You were talking about before. Playground equipment.
In Knoll Dorward?
Oh,
Right, there's a project plan for Knoll Dorward Park, yes.
when?
It's under design now, probably in 2025 or 26.
Seems like a long time since you first mentioned that.
It has been 2022.
Got grants.
Oh, grants, you
Grants
gotta
draw out the process.
apply.
They could have winners.
Okay, you abstain occasionally.
Anything that's Bowman, I work for Bowman.
Oh.
So I can't, and I have a very,
Yeah,
I have a wall on everything I do. I don't promote things
Yeah.
that Bowman does, and I don't vote on anything that Bowman does.
What does Bowman do? I mean,
Yes, sir.